Hello there, welcome to Critical Reviews. Today, taking a look at Transformers 1. Talk about more than meets the eye. After the underwhelming box office of Rise of the Beasts, this time Hasbro has elected to go the animated route for the latest outing of the Robots in Disguise. Now that we finally got it in the UK, I can say I am impressed. However, before I continue, your spoiler-free plot summary. Orion Pax and D16 are lowly worker bots and best friends. Unable to even transform, they are relegated to the most menial of tasks, including mining energon to keep their home planet of Cybertron powered. When the well-meaning but catastrophe-prone Orion Pax gets them demoted, it leads to a path of discovery and betrayal that will shake the very foundations of their society and set the two bots on separate paths to their true potential and their very different destinies as mortal enemies. One of the best things about Transformers 1 is that it shows, once and for all, that humans are not required to develop a narrative or have us relate to the characters, because at its energon-soaked core, this is a character story, namely the tale of how Optimus Prime and Megatron came to be. Now, this is a tale that has been told before in the excellent War Within comic series. This time, however, things have been changed about a little bit, with the origins of both bots being altered to make things a tiny bit more palatable to the younger audience that this film obviously skews to. Rather than Megatron being a gladiator fighting in the arenas of Kaon, and Orion Pax being a young law enforcement officer, we have this conceit of them being fellow workers, and for the most part this works just fine. The relationship between the two is well defined and believable, and in general I have to say that the voice acting is good all round, which is a pleasant surprise, given the big-name movie stars that have been chosen to voice our main characters, rather than recognisable veteran stalwarts of the genre. As Orion Pax, you have Chris Hemsworth, and the Aussie does a great job of conveying the diamond and rough bot, earnest to the extreme, but already showing the selfless leadership qualities that will come to define him as the leader of the Autobots, Optimus Prime. Brian Tyree Henry as D16 is equally compelling. His slightly more reserved and grounded portrayal of pre-Megatron, a sympathetic and relatable character. While this does make it slightly harder to buy his ultimate transformation into the terrible tyrant leader of the Decepticons, rather than the freedom fighter aesthetic of the comics, it is in no way due to the voice performance, rather a slight misstep in characterisation. The other two main characters sadly don't fare as well. Scarlett Johansson's Elita 1 is a career-minded, selfish bitch. Better than Orion Pax in every way. Hey, her words, not mine. With no nuance or actual likability of any kind. Bumblebee, on the other hand, wears very thin, very quickly. Keegan-Michael Key's charismatic delivery starts to grate, and he just becomes more like a hyperactive toddler with each passing minute. Remember the silent Bumblebee from the live-action movies? Yeah, I missed that guy. Elsewhere, John Hamm gives us smarmy charm with politician Sentinel Prime, and Lawrence Fishburne imparts impressive gravitas to Alpha Trion. Steve Buscemi also has a decent crack at Starscream, so overall, the voice acting is very strong, but the characters, they are very much a mixed bag. The plot is pretty standard stuff. The reliable old, you've been living a lie, meet your full potential stuff that is the norm for this kind of thing. But it all ties into the existing Transformers lore fairly well, and I will say that although it's as predictable as all hell, with barely a story beat not being telegraphed from miles off, you have to cut it some slack. It's a kids' film. Ebbs and flows. Overall, it does the job. The main problem with Transformers 1 is that it takes a while to get going, and until it does, you have this kind of kiddie-orientated, shallow film with annoying characters and dialogue that is extremely modern day, and it grates a little bit. Even if it did elicit the odd chuckle from me here and there, I can't deny it. But once the film hits its stride, it transforms into an excellent animated action movie, with the earlier shallow plot becoming something much more impactful. Sadly, a lot of the marketing and the trailers emphasised on the first part of the movie and made the film look a lot more childlike than it actually is. This, combined with a staggered release window and the fact that it's out on streaming next week, means that it's unlikely to achieve much in the way of box office success, and it's destined to find its audience on streaming. It's a shame. The film is just confused over its audience, aiming for kids where there were as many single adults in the audience as there were parents. That said, it was well underattended, maybe a dozen to 15 people in total, on its release weekend. Do kids even give a crap about Transformers anymore? There weren't even any Transformers toys in the trailers, although apparently Beyblade is still a thing. Overall, there is still enough here for older fans, plenty of G1 bots and references to spot. You'll not walk out disappointed. But the film won't sway many others. Despite having loads of potential, particularly with executive producer Steven Spielberg's fingerprints all over the film, it's going to underperform. I also think it's a crime not to have Peter Cullen involved in any way at all, not even a cameo, and I can't get used to bots with human expressions and mannerisms. It's creepy. Final thoughts. Transformers 1 is a good addition to the franchise, certainly more so than the later Michael Bay, who also has an executive producer credit, popcorn films. Sadly, it is lumbered with a rather predictable and basic plot and a first act that completely underserves the potential of what turns out to be a compelling and action-packed second half. Assuming that you do stick with it and get past the irksome plot and character plot developments and the dialogue, there really is something great here. All this build-up does have a point, and it is necessary for the path that the characters will go on. I just wish it was slightly more refined. Then again, I suppose the first half is much more likely to be popular with the kids. The film is just hedging its bets. Overall, it is absolutely worth your time. Like Orion Pax himself, it is a diamond in the rough, and it just takes a while to show its true potential. When it does, it's got the touch and the power.
I knew you had potential, man.
And it's some prime entertainment. I recommend you check it out. Thanks for watching. I've been Critic. I'll be back with another movie review soon.